Be in the spotlight is the place to network and chat with me. Be in the spotlight is the place to chat with me. I'm Sue of ID.
Hello and welcome to Be in the Spotlight. And today my special guest is Helen Hancox. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Helen, I would be much appreciated.
Oh, thank you. I'm Helen Hancox and I live in New Zealand, which is very fine. And I am quite keen on businesses getting their records in order. That's
Oh,
really what I like.
I like that sound of that. So I've been looking a little bit on your profile to see how we would describe you. And I love the fact that it calls yourself the no nonsense business coach. And I just wondered, where did you come up with the name of no nonsense? Because to me, it means like I'm taking no nonsense from anyone.
No, and I don't. I came up with it back in 2020 when COVID hit and the face-to-face business stopped. I went to a branding expert and we just chatted. We're looking for colors and stuff because I was going to be online. And so I can still see her. She lived in a boat in a harbour, and she was leaning back on the edge of the boat, and she said, "So it's all sort of no nonsense." And I went, "Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't put up with the nonsense." So she did it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I love it totally. And I think it's very apt with what you do
Mm,
because really it is something that we should be taken very seriously. And I
mm,
think that is something that people
yeah.
don't take
Mm,
as seriously as they should be.
yeah. Now,
So
I'd like to add, if I may,
you
that
may.
yeah, for the face-to-face business, which was called the Flying Filing Squad, and there's a whole post in that, I called myself the top of the pecking order.
Oh, I
And I
love it.
loved it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do apologize. I'm not laughing at her. I really am not laughing at her. But I just said the flying, the flying fighting squad. I could just see that. Just can see that. It just brings another imagination to me. But you
Mm,
know what? I think having a sense of humour is so important as well. And I don't, but
mm,
serious stuff, but having a humour, and I think that's what brings the humanity, the human element to the story. Oh dear, we're going well. I've gone off piste already. Anyway, what I want to do is to actually take us the viewers on a little bit of a journey so we get to know you because obviously not everybody's had the luxury of getting to know you perhaps off camera like I have, and maybe haven't worked with you, so I really want to take us on the journey of where you started from and how we ended up with where you are now. And just to give us a little bit of a scenario, my expertise of what I sort of tend to do is focusing on the journey that's building the confidence from where you were to what you're achieving now, and the challenges that you've faced in getting to where you are now. And ultimately, I can't have a conversation if we don't talk tech, and this is going to obviously be a conversation involving tech. So, so really, and really, from the takeaways from what we're sharing is that I want to be able to show people who are watching and listening to us that wherever you are in your starting point, that isn't where you finish, and we all have to go on a journey, and learn things and adapt and change, and ultimately that even if it is something that we're afraid of, you can overcome those challenges.
mm,
Don't give up. If you've got a goal, that you're working towards, live your dreams. You can achieve it. You can have it
mm,
all, and that's really what I want to sort of say to everybody that's watching. So if I share my little story to begin with, I started out being a Microsoft tutor. In fact, I didn't start off out as a Microsoft tutor. I was in admin, but I made the change 25 years ago to go into teaching, and I started off doing Microsoft Office, and I thought I pretty much knew everything until I got asked to teach digital skills and confidence building. And
mm,
it wasn't until I started teaching digital skills that I realized, oh my God, there was more stuff that I didn't know than there was that I did know. And that was the start of my journey. Because they always say you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it. And boy, did I realize it.
mm,
So that really has been the catalyst for a lot of changes that I've seen, and I've gone from doing a lot of stuff paper based to having to work using the cloud and using, Google Drive, SharePoint and stuff like that. So the way that I used to work to how I work now has changed an awful lot. So that's really some of my journey, which is why I was so excited to talk to you about your journey, because I think, I'm going to learn so much from you in this conversation, and I'm thinking so many other people are going to learn from you as well. So can I ask you just to sort of give us a little bit of a background of where you started from and what was the starting point of your journey, and so we can go on that journey with you.
Well, as it turns out, the start of my journey was probably when I was 4, and the family had a bakery. I mean, they went into business having a bakery. And in that, as I look back on it, it was a matter of process in terms of the yeast had to go down 8 hours before you put the flour in to do the blah and blah. I mean, I don't do yeast bread myself, but realizing that if you want to make 12 dozen pies efficiently and quickly, then there's a specific way of laying out the tins. So move forward to my mum probably thinking that the last thing you want to be is working in a bakery. And she got me applying for jobs in government sector. And the government sector I joined was the Department of Māori Affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a fantastic record keeping system and a cast of about 12 people who maintained it.
Wow.
So I won't bore you with the details of a physical filing system, but I went through the government sector and eventually went in the private sector, and I was running their stuff. And then I had a surprise baby.
Oh, wow.
And I went on a social welfare benefit because I was too tired to go back to work. I tried, but I was too tired, and I was probably postnatally depressed. So I had 15 months being with Eric and at home, which was just magic. And then I decided I really needed to wean myself off the social welfare benefit. And I started doing contracting jobs. And the first one was working for the Institute of Directors. The man who was setting it up here, I can't remember those details. Now it's 1989. Okay. So I just started contracting, and I eventually ended up in a organization that had a mess, and I couldn't fix the mess myself. And I employed a violinist, a flute player, an editor. That was the 3 I remember, to do the work that we had to do. And the flute player was also in the Air Force.
Okay.
And she said, "Oh, we need a flying squad to do this." And I went, "Oh, a flying filing squad." And that night I dreamt the logo, and then 35 years that business ran until COVID turned up. But what happened was that, of course, I was there. I had a computer in 1989. I was already getting into the digital stuff. And then eventually COVID turned up, and government contracts were not available because we weren't able to be face-to-face. And I started doom scrolling on Facebook in between pulling weeds in the garden.
Oh, blimey.
And so the first coaches were, I still am coached in terms of technology with them. And yeah, I mean, I've just blossomed because I really enjoy it. Yeah. So 35 years. And also I'm a 3rd generation business owner.
You really?
Because my grandparents were in business as well.
Wow. So I think I'm a 1st generation.
Yeah.
But interesting. I love the way you talked about the bakery, because my brother was a baker for quite a few years as well. So, and my mum, she's done filing and setting up filing systems, and my very first job was actually working in a library, so organizing and stuff like that. So I think it's sort of been in the blood of the organization, and you did medical education and clinical audit, and one of that was the auditing of systems and stuff like that. So it's all those systems and processes and the computers. the very first job was, you know, it was, there's a computer, don't know how to use it, you have to figure it out yourself, and there's the books to work it out from. And that was my introduction to computers, and similar sort of time era as you, by the sounds of it. And so yeah, so I wrote the notes down, all the training material, and that was like the documentation and stuff like that. So that was sort of my introduction to the technology and systems and processes and things like that. And then I then went, after about 10 years, I went progressed to desktop publishing. I was producing a lot of desktop published documents and things at the time in the health service. And then I went into the medical, sorry, I moved into education. I went back to college and did a degree and went in that way. So yeah, but a lot of organizing, coordinating and systems and procedures. So it's very, I love doing it. I
Yeah,
hated
very
the typing,
enjoyable.
but yeah, it is that. And you know, not so much about some of the other stuff, but I did enjoy doing that. So that is a really interesting to sharing there from you. So I think you've sort of talked us a little bit about the filing squad. God, that's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? And you've obviously said that the shift came from COVID being the real catalyst for the change. Can you sort of talk us through some of the challenges that you faced going from that paper-based successful business to then going on to doing the digital one? Because you said you were doom scrolling. So how did that lead to you doing what you started to do?
Well, I can, well, I still am. I'm a network marketer who hasn't done a very good job of getting a network, but I quite like the product and I keep it the product. So when COVID happened, I thought, well, maybe, what are people doing? Scroll, scroll, scroll. And this post came up, which was called Become the Upline You Wish You Had. And I thought,
Oh,
yeah, that speaks to me.
wow.
So they were doing that free 5-day challenge. So I thought, if it's free, why wouldn't you? And went through all of those sort of stuff and went up their value ladder. That was the word. So I did the $7 one, and I did the $27 one, and then I did the $8,000 one.
Oh, wow, gosh.
And then I realized that I was never, ever really going to manage to be a network marketer, and also, or not online anyway. Also, there was that, oh God, that's an odd thing to do. And as in terms of how to post and stuff, I never quite grasped it. And I've struggled. My number one struggle was writing content and all that sort of stuff. The other thing too is that they expected that all of the people that came in on the $8,000 one wanted to run a class, wanted to be so, and I didn't want to. I was saying, well, I'm not going to do this content plan because I'm not going to run a class.
No,
because I was terrified of the thought of running a class. I really was.
Yeah.
Even though I was very competent in what the government sector in New Zealand needed to do.
Yeah.
And so I just kept scrolling. And also, I'd been in a business coaching with Brendan Nichols from Australia since 2004. And through that time, he kept our group together by Zoom, even though he didn't have to, because the 1-year course had come to an end. And as part of being in Brendan's group, I had met this woman, Narelle, and she was popping up in my system. And she started writing really oddly. It was full stops and then another sentence and full stops. And I sent her a message going, Narelle, what are you doing? And she had a coach who then became a coach of you and me.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
direct result of Narelle that I started to see also what was happening within her profile and what was turning up. So that's what doom scrolling did for me.
Yeah.
I'm still in connection with the Become the Upline people who have changed their names in a variety of ways, and they offer a different product now to manage people through to a whole sold out event. So I don't use them because I don't want to have a sold out event yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet.
I'm a slow mover.
Yeah.
I do know when something's a yes, I'm in.
Yeah.
And otherwise I'm a slow mover, and I have got this far being that way, so I'll
Yeah.
keep doing.
No, I think that is a really important point that you say there, because there always seems to be a rush to this, a rush to that, and a rush to go up, up, up. And I think yeah, it is okay if that's what you
Mm,
want to do.
yeah.
But I'm a bit of a slow burner like you. I like to process and apply and understand. But
Mm,
having said that, everything I learn that I'm absorbing, I hadn't realized how much I have observed and absorbed and learned and observed. Um,
yep.
I have the audience to practice on, which is my classroom, and that's
Yeah.
something that is really good. So although I may not have it virtual classroom, so much, I have a real classroom, and
Yeah.
that as sort of, if you like, the stage for me to
Mm,
practice and to try out. So um,
mm.
yeah, so it is interesting, definitely interesting. So how would you say the approach that you've had with your clients has changed over the time? Because obviously there's going to be a change from the
Dramatically. Dramatically. And here's where I went wrong. When I decided that I was going to be a done with you, it was a do it yourself, done with you, done for you concept.
Mhm.
I set about and wrote what I thought they would need.
Right.
Now, that took a wee while,
Mm,
and it was optional and blah blah, but I'm now rolling my eyes
mm,
because the very first person I did work with, it didn't make sense to them.
no.
And then I went, oh, right, I can see what I've done. It's a government sector sort of idea.
Mm,
So then I just thought, I'll just talk to them.
mm,
And so it's been the conversations, show me your screen, what do you do? Why have you got all of those things on your desktop?
mm,
So
yeah.
it became just a friendly conversation.
Mm,
And the difference is I've done one where I've done everything for them, but you still got to talk to people
yeah. Yeah.
and figure out. So their folders of hodgepodge went from being, I don't know, a gazillion. There's all of this mess on the computer to
Yeah.
having 5 folders. And
Yeah.
in those 5 folders were just a small number, but
Mm,
also recognizing by doing that
mm,
that the process of keeping track of where they were working and who they were working with
mm,
was a mess.
mm,
So have you thought about having a, customer relationship management system? You can get them for free.
mm,
Uh, so it's seeing that. So I wasted so much time thinking I need to be ready.
mm,
And I now know that I was ready. You just
mm.
have to build the relationship and talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, to the relationship built. And I think that's the thing as well, is that I don't know about you in your experience, but there's been on the receiving end, there have been so many people that have like connected, send connection requests, and you either get no contact with them after they've sent you a connection request, or they hit you with a sales pitch straight away. And I'm thinking, what about actually getting to know me, or actually find out about me, or what it
Yeah.
is we do? Um, Having said that, being married to a salesperson, or we do have difference of opinions on the approach because of how you go about doing things. But I do feel that it's all about the getting to know you. People know,
Mm,
like, and trust you, and building the relationship. And I think that is something I'm lucky with in the classroom, because people have got to know me, so they know,
mm,
like, and trust me. So when I talk about, oh, we've got this coming up next, like, they come back and they come back and they
mm,
come back. So I sort of end up having them for a period of time, which and I think that's the thing, when you are setting up on your own or starting a business, people don't realize how much there is involved.
mm,
They think, you're going to
mm.
get this overnight success of people signing up and stuff, which it totally isn't.
No.
And find the niching down, I think, was the thing that I found very challenging, focusing on one thing. And I
Mm,
got told that a little while, you know, when I first started out, you had to do this, you had to do that. Follow people that are doing what you want to do, see what they're doing, and look for the gaps in the market, and then do stuff like that. And there were so many things that I heard that I'm not saying I disagree with, but it didn't feel right for me, and it just didn't sit well with me. And I rebelled against a lot of it, especially the niching down for quite some time, because I thought, well, digital skills, that covers, you know, quite a few things, is what I do, you know. But I will say that when it has swings and roundabouts, the good thing for me is that because I do different things and I can turn around what I do, um, my referrals have been quite diverse, but I do keep getting the referrals because of the fact that I can do the different things rather than being specific. And I can remember when I was doing work as a VA for a while, I was told become Microsoft Office specialist. That will get you the work and stuff like that. And then, of course, I started saying, "Oh, I do this," and I had the people that were using Google. Well, we're not going to come to you then, because if you're not doing Google, we we aren't going to use you. And I'm thinking, well, I do use Google as well, and I do the Apple products. So I did resist. I did resist a lot. And I think, again, when being told to make videos and stuff like that, I looked at all these people that are making all these videos and thought, wow, they're brilliant. I'm not any good at going and doing stuff like that. So I didn't do it. And I think I resisted that for quite a while. But I think, you know, being specific with what you're doing, and like you said, having those done for you services and done with you does give a lot more scope for what it is that you're doing. And when I sort of look back at all of the people that I have been working with in the private, it is exactly what I've been doing. They've actually come to me with what it is they want. We talk about what it is they need, and then I help them to achieve what it is that they want to do, either in person or online, or a combination of the two. So not so much now with people coming from all over the place, but yeah, that is basically pretty much what I'm offering in the private side as well. So um, I want to move on a little bit now. So we've talked about some of the struggles that we've had and the move that's taken us from the what I call the paper world to the digital world. And that there are two big areas that I find that are really key that people need to have, but they don't necessarily do. And that has got to be our organizing of the file management system and our email management system, which I think is a very, very big thing for both you and for me. And I think that's actually how we got to know each other, was through some content on that very subject. So what I would say, I would ask for you, and I'm going to just stick with the file side of things for the moment, because I think it makes it easier to stay on that topic. What would you say were some of the most common misconceptions that people have about a filing system?
Oh, I don't know whether there's any common ones. She says, looking up, thinking, oh. Well, I think they don't think that they have to do anything about it. Like, they just save a document.
Yeah.
And then they don't know where it went.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one person I had, she had a Apple, and so she had the iCloud drive, and she was using Microsoft as well. And she would save things and they'd disappear. And I said to her, so how come you don't have your iCloud drive on your Finder? Because she didn't know how to log in to iCloud either. So I had to research how to do that. So I did her a little Loom video and sent it to her afterwards. But it's not easy.
No.
And you need to have a really good think first. And I mean, it may be, if it's I have a folder called personal, and I throw a lot of junk in there. But that's where I can find my family photos and the genealogy stuff that I might decide to do. I throw it in there so I don't lose it. But I don't think anybody has a particular conception, other than I'm far too creative. Which I think, oh, go away, is what I think. Because let me explain to you that creatives have patterns as well. It's as simple as that. It's about finding the pattern. And there's this woman that I met through our coach who said something along the lines of, I can't possibly do it, I'm far too creative. And as I was talking with her, behind her, and I've taken a screenshot of it too, so I can use it in posting. She was an artist shop. So she was sitting in the shop, and there on the shelves, in a system that I could plainly see, was watercolors, oils, crayons, chalks, blah-de-rah, all nicely in their shelves. So you could see that. So that's a folder.
Yeah.
And within that was the subfolders, which was blue and green and red. And that system went through oil, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And when I pointed out to her, I think she was almost cross. She had a big investment in being creative.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to be pointed out that that's quite a good structure that you could use in your computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I've no idea why they don't. But I also think it's like, oh, mummy will put it away, it'll be all right. And it's not what happens.
No.
Even when mummy does put it away, you've got to know where it was put.
Yeah, exactly.
And keyword searching doesn't work if you've spelt it wrong.
No, exactly. And that's
There we
a
go.
yeah, no,
I
that's a I was going to say about the crowd, it's funny because one of the people I work with is an artist, and one of the biggest things I had to sort out with her was it was actually loads of things I sorted out, with sorting out photos to get them off of her phone onto the computer, then to sort out the drive to where she was going to put them to get them on the computer. And at the time she was using Windows 11 and I hadn't even got it, so trying to organize how she was doing that. Then the backup of it all. I always seem to get the jobs with going to backups to the cloud and on systems I don't need. But it was it was how you're organizing the photos and how, when we're talking about photos, we're talking hundreds of thousands
you're
of
talking
photos.
nightmares. But let me just add in that one of the jobs we did when it was face-to-face was to work in the New Zealand Museum, the Papa Tongarewa, with they've got a huge array of artwork, funnily enough. And we listed them. I mean, they actually had a lot of information in alphabetical order about the artists and what their things were and where to find the piece of work that was there. So in an overarching way, be creative, be an artist, but for goodness sake, let's look at what art galleries do.
Yeah.
They don't lose their stuff.
No, exactly.
Yeah, the New Zealand Archive, they've got huge numbers of war-based. So there was an artist that wandered around World War II, and a lot of his work is in the basement of the New Zealand archives and they know it's there. Not a surprise.
No.
So like moving on, I could go on for hours.
No, it's okay. So I'm actually going to go off a little bit of piece in direction, but I think actually this is quite a good opportunity to discuss it as we are talking about filing systems. So a couple of things that two things I would say to you, and I would say, how would you go about doing this? So I know that you've moved, I know that you've not shared this with us, but I know that you've moved to being completely digital. You don't have any paper at all in your domain at all. I am a person who has kept everything from the year dot. I'm known for my archive of everything. So I have at least 25 years worth of teaching material that's still cluttered around the house. But the disadvantage is that obviously IT and tech changes and moves on so quickly. So my material is out of date very quickly. But it's the amount of time and effort that goes into creating all of the stuff. It's hours. And I always feel like it's like you've done all that work. You don't want to part company with it. But having said that, I am conscious that I need to try and get rid of down or slim down. And the same goes with my old computer systems. It worked fine when it was working with just me. But then when I start working for other people and I get all of the stuff involved with doing work for them, the systems get big and they get cumbersome, and you think, oh my God, you know, and you get multiple versions of the same thing, and so on and so forth. So
Mm.
I decided I knew I had to get a new laptop anyway. So I've now decided I'm going to set up the new system, the new way of working on the new laptop. So I know all the mistakes I have made and I know what I
Mhm.
should be doing, but I would like, and anybody that's watching, if they've got a new device and they want to sort out, what would be the tips that you would say to set up your filing system on your new device that you get? And
I-
if you are also looking at getting rid of the hard copy documents of stuff that you've got that you don't want to lose completely, what would you say were the best tips for dealing with that to get started?
Well, my first tip would be do some thinking
Hmm.
in that. What are you doing? Is
Yeah.
it business? Is it personal?
Yeah.
I tell the people I work with that when they start a new system, whether they're doing a new system on the current computer or a new computer, that they need to keep all of those old documents over some side. I mean, you can divide computers up and get all geeky about it, but you need to have a folder maybe called old stuff and stick
Mm,
everything that you have done in the past is in there, every last thing.
mm,
And you might have a folder called new stuff,
mm,
whatever your name is. But it's in there that you create your system. Like, what do you do for basic admin? Do you have clients? Do you need to keep them secret?
mm,
Or is your client, if you're a health person, you've probably got a client system that's secure and locked down and all the rest of it.
mm,
So you need to decide, why are you in business? What is your external function, basically?
mm,
Where is it that you make your money?
mm,
Because that's the business aspect of it.
mm,
And then you've got to manage that business. So it depends on what you call things. I mean, I call my clients people. So my folder's called people.
mhm,
Other people call them clients, whatever. So
mm,
it's about tailoring it to meet your specific needs
mm,
and doing the scope on a mind map.
mm.
Like in the middle, you can have my business and you can split it out to,
Mm,
what is your business? Is it ballet dancing? Is it painting, accounting, whatever? So
mm,
you need to have a decent think.
mm. I like the way you go with
That's
the
what
mind
you,
map. Mind map.
yeah, well, it's, if you don't do that, you'll just transfer the mess from the old one into the new one. Now, I'm
Yeah.
saying you need to make sure you keep the old one, and it may
Yeah.
be that you keep it all in the cloud,
Mm,
because cloud storage is quite good.
mm,
And you work your current system on your computer, which is also backed up to the cloud. Backing up, backing up, back up. Make
yeah,
sure you
definitely
back.
back up, back up. Yes. And don't have it all in multiple places.
Yeah. Oh God, I already have that. But let me tell you a backup story, because the same person who was far too creative, she I picked up through reading posts that she had lost her book, that she'd been writing a book and she couldn't
Oh,
find it, and it
oh
was all
no.
there, 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 there.
Mm,
So I approached her and said, so let's have a look. I mean, what's going on? And she had been in touch with Apple and Apple hadn't fixed it. And I said to her, well, my connector linchpin person went, well, I know somebody who can probably help you, because
mm,
he's a technical professional, otherwise
mm,
known as a geeky boy.
mm,
So I introduced them,
mhm.
and it took him 4 hours of searching and looking and going through, and eventually he discovered that she had stopped paying her Apple subscription.
Oh gosh.
So the 15K of stuff here
Yeah.
was what she could access, and
Yeah.
it was only a few chapters of the book, which was the rest, which was over here.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So she
Yeah.
paid her subscription and the book came back, and the Apple people hadn't picked that up when she was in communication with them.
Mm,
The thing that annoyed me the most about these creative people is she complained about the price.
mm, mm.
I was aghast.
Yeah.
So,
No.
but anyway, it was a good news, because he was, I mean, he's a technical professional. He's bilingual with computers as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean he can do anything in the PC or
Oh, I don't,
so I
yeah.
just, and I think too, you've got to take responsibility.
Yeah.
You've got to be responsible. This isn't, it's serious,
Mm.
because if you cannot produce your documents to the court case when they subpoena them,
No, no,
tough.
no, exactly. And I
You will
think
get
that,
the fine.
yeah, exactly. And I think you really, whether it's for a system to use at home, whether it's a system for business, whatever, you need to know where things are. And that is so important. I mean, it's the first lesson I do with people after it's sort of getting around with the mouse and keyboard is to how to find, to save things, saving it to the documents to folder, saving it, to the desktop. When we save it to the desktop, I know we don't recommend doing that,
We don't
but
keep it there.
but because it's there, because normally I do that, we're on public computers, so we obviously don't want to be saving to documents because they're going to be moving to either the USB dependent on one venue, or it's uploading it to their Google Drive or their SharePoint folder, cloud storage. So, but I have to say that's not normally the ones that are first starting out, because that would give them a nightmare. But we'll save it to the desktop in order to move it to a different place, or we will do the creating the folder first within documents so they've got it
Oh,
organized, so they then practice saving into the different folders. And we normally do that as screenshots, because screenshots is a good way of taking a record of what it is they've done, evidence, save it into the different folders, and then we've renamed them, and then we will move the completed filing system onto their USB. So then as they're working each
yeah,
week, they've got it, they've got it already set up on their USB, and they can save it to the desktop and then use it to transfer to the USB. So that tends to be a lot of the way I work with the very, very, very beginning people. But they will always say, well, why can't I just click on this, that button there pointing to the save button? And you have to sort of say, well, you have to specify what you're calling it first and where you're saving it to. And then we have the debate about, well, what do we call it? And I said, it's got to be something that you can find. And I said, it's so important to give it a naming convention that will be easy to find. So I said, a date coming at the beginning of it is a good place to start with, then what you're going to call it. So we sort of, as much as I don't like working in the back to front system, as I call it, but the Americans do have, with their date format, a good logical thing for finding
yeah,
things on your file,
absolutely.
which is far better than the UK version of it, which does it the other way around. So
Yeah,
when we talk
same.
about,
I do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so that sort of, so I always sort of start off with those, and you have to explain, no, you can't use dots or forward slashes in it, because that's again code for the different things. So going through that, so making sure what you consist in it, and then as you say, the different categories of the folders and stuff like that. So that is really it's the stuff that I've been working with them as well. So I think that sort of tends to help. And then, as I said, we work on a very simple system for when they first started out with the devices, or it depends which venue I'm on as well. And then as they progress the further up or further along in the digital journey they are, then we're bringing in the cloud drive and organizing the cloud drive. And again, it's still important to how they would use it. But again, like going back to my client and the ones that I have done, which is involving, most of the time it's involving sorting out their photos and their file storage and getting it backed up to the cloud, whether it's Google or wherever. For me, because I have 3 different systems, there's always an odd one out, and I'm always the odd one out normally. So I have the Microsoft that works within the Microsoft environment. So that's going to the Microsoft backup, if you like. Google, obviously, I then keep in within the Google, and then obviously Apple, I keep on Apple. So I do have the three different systems, but I don't have to. I for most of it, I'm not paying for other than what I need to be paying for. So if you said, for the Google, it's all the stuff for free, because of how I've got it set up. But and then like my Apple would be like my main system, because most of my stuff with the photos and that is in that area, so the iCloud. So it's quite good for organizing and that type of thing. And then obviously the work stuff, the teaching stuff tends to be in that area as well. So it's more complicated, but in actual fact, I think because I didn't put Microsoft on Apple, for example, I haven't had those issues of them, going across the different places, which I think some people have. I've got all my photos on this, like my Android phone, but I'm trying to get it linked to my, my Windows computer, or, it's that confusing system. And you think, right, if you work with
Yeah.
one system.
But also it's you start out by thinking, what is it that you're wanting to achieve before you get that mess?
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody does.
No, and then they sort of wonder, you're asking all these questions. What is it you're trying to do? What is it you're wanting to achieve? And of course, they've not thought about it. So you're sort of trying to get them to sort of think about it and how you do it and everything. It's
Yeah. And it's all possible. I mean, I've had some interesting conversations.
definitely. So I think the talking about the files, we talked a lot about the filing system. I think we could carry on talking about that for even longer.
Let's move on.
But let's move on. So I think the other system that also comes in, and this is probably my next workshop normally after the file management, is the email system. So we're going on about the emails and sending attachments. But how many people will just sit with unread messages in their inbox? And we sort of looked at how many messages have you got? And I'm horrified at how many messages there are, but they're also just stuck in their inbox. They don't do anything with them. So we sort of have the conversation about email, inbox management and stuff like that. So I would say I've got some terrible horror stories, but I was going to say, I know that's something that you cover as well in when you're going through with the organization. So again, what tips do you go through with your clients or your people to help them manage their systems on that as well?
Well, I explained to them that the email is just the envelope. And so what you need to look at is, what is the content of this envelope? Is it important? And if it is important, you need to turn it into a PDF and put it into your filing system and delete what's on the email.
Okay. That's a different approach, yeah.
Because email systems change. I mean, I had a doctor say to me, what do you think I should do with my 30 years of emails? And I calmly said, can you read them? He said, no. I said, well, throw them out. I mean, that's just stupid. And another doctor had totally replicated his accountant's system. So he had properties and bits and pieces and rates coming through. So he had set up folder structures and subfolder structures within his email thing. And he spent hours moving them into the right folder structure. Well, your accountant's got them. You're doing a duplicate. Why don't you just delete them? Well, he had a fit and hasn't come back, and that's okay. So what I'm saying is that I have a personal email and I have a business email.
Yeah.
And my aim is to have everything read and move to the right place. And you do that by creating rules so that you can see that when things come up.
Yeah.
I want to see the Zoom things that I've done. I want to see them. So I've set up a rule that pops them down here into Zoom. So I know I don't have to look at that. I just have to feel grateful it's turned up. But yeah, I mean, it's almost like you need a therapy session with the person to help understand. So why have you kept all of these PDFs that you've received because you've subscribed? I might want to read them. So this one is 1985. Really? Just throw it out. So I think that people make it a mistake, an issue for themselves. And back in the day, it was exciting to get an email. I mean, we ran the Women in Science conference using emails. So I was totally au fait, but it was like, So I really don't know. It's about getting into the person's head. So what's going on? Now, luckily, I've trained in some therapies things, but you know, it's not what I want to do for my life. But if you can ask the right questions of people, so help me understand
Yeah,
about these 53,000 emails in a Google account, and
yeah.
22,000 of them aren't read. So how come?
Mm.
And then I give advice about how to throw them out.
Gosh, I think I need to go into therapy with you already.
Well, I can help you with that, first 15 minutes, let me teach you how to do it. Because it's, if you're in, that one thing you must do is unsubscribe from everything.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
way to unsubscribe from everything is to sort them in
mm,
who sent it order. But now
yeah,
I'm going down the way, how you can do it.
yeah,
And I've
yeah.
got little spreadsheets that you can get from me that
Uh,
will show you how to do it.
yeah.
But you
I,
don't need a folder structure within your email system. I mean, you've got the incoming ones, a subfolder which says work, because sometimes you have to wait for information.
mm.
What else do you need?
Okay. That is totally different to what I would do, but that's
Mm,
why it was interesting to do.
yeah.
I do have a folder system. I do have a folder system,
Mm,
and all of my messages go into the appropriate folders, so I know where to
mm,
find them. But I do have no unread messages. Work with a
mm,
zero
yeah.
unread. So, and yes, I do have a lot of stuff that I've subscribed to. And I haven't unsubscribed to them because, funnily enough, I actually think that they'd be quite useful, especially if they're coming from other people that are doing newsletters and they're doing techie type newsletters and things, because there's quite a lot of useful tips in there. And if I ever did
Mm.
get around to doing a newsletter, which I
Well,
don't,
all I can say to you, my dear,
and I don't know that
is
I ever
that
will.
when you decide that you want to do a newsletter, you will ask Chappie,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah,
you now
yeah,
know a lot of what I do. What sort of
yeah,
things do you think I should put in a newsletter?
yeah, yeah. So I
Throw them
suppose
out.
don't do. Whereas the thing is, how many of them actually get read? That is the issue
Mm,
as well. You know, you're
mm,
sending it. Everybody tells you. And that was one of the things I found out going back to our story at the beginning. Everybody is telling you need to have Facebook groups, business pages,
mm,
you name it, you got to have it. I did all of it. Freebie, lead magnet. It took me years to get my head around a
mm,
lead magnet. And then only being in the membership that you and I are in the community, I discovered that the lead magnet was the free event that I was doing. But before that, I never. Oh, you don't do anything for free because you want to get paid. And of course, I was doing it. Nobody was coming along to these events, and even then, I started doing them for free, and nobody was coming. So,
yeah, yeah, but that's building the relationships.
relationship,
It takes a
it,
long time
time, yeah,
to build
yeah.
the
Yep.
relationships.
And I think that's partly as well for me. I've kept the communications because it's all there of the conversations that I've had and things like that. So I've always got to go back to refer it. But I go with you on the attachments and stuff that you get sent through. Yeah, that's definitely I think that's a really good idea of what you're saying. Download it, PDF it, and file it straight away into your areas. And I think there's a few things that I've recently had. I thought, yeah, I've got to sit them down and go through them and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a work in progress. I don't know that I'm
How
as
are
bad.
you?
I don't know if I'm as bad as some of your people you've worked with, but I think there's still scope for change and improvement. But as I said, new laptop. I'm determined we're going to go in the way I
Mm,
want to be doing, and
that's a very
that's
good idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. I think one of the things I've always done is a year. I always start off with a year, and I think I've got the personal stuff is in the current year, and the teaching stuff is in an academic year. So I always know what courses and everything else I've gone back that
Mhm.
way. And then within those years are my A to Z of how I'm sort of sorting it. So I know that sounds a really weird way of working, but I think it's what
Mm,
has worked for me. And the other thing I do is the profiles. You said about actually having a file for your personal stuff and a file for your business stuff.
yeah.
So how I've done it is I've gone for doing different profiles so that and especially with a new laptop, so that I literally are keeping those things
Mm,
separate. And I think that's another thing that I sort of,
mm.
you learn as you go along, the mistakes that
Yeah,
you made
absolutely.
and
And
things like
that's
that.
why there is benefit in having a chat with the person
Mm,
so that you get to understand how they think, because
mm.
I'm not going to use it.
No,
So,
no,
and
no.
that's where doing mind mapping has been useful with
Yeah,
a couple of
yeah,
clients because they
yeah,
see things. Because
yeah, yeah,
it's a system for you to use, which is
yeah,
quite different to the systems we did for the government
yeah,
because everybody had to use that system. But hey,
yeah,
this is
yeah,
do
yeah.
what you like.
And I think that's so important because as well, a lot of people when we're going to work in the workplace, we're you're not getting any support or training of what it is you're doing, and invariably you're using different network drives that are saving things in this place and that place and the other place, or it's now the equivalent of it on the SharePoint drive or a Teams
Mm,
drive, or
mm,
and there's no explanation about where things are, and it's looking for things like a needle in a haystack, and you're
mm,
trying to find stuff and you waste so much time trying to do it.
mm,
But I tell you what I found as well that was useful for doing things, and it's using tags and meta tags to giving it
mm,
even more information. And I think that's something else I've started to teach a little bit
mm.
more about, that
Yeah.
extra bit of information, so that
Mm,
when you're doing a search, you can bring it up in a few different places as well, which I think is really useful. So definitely some good things there. So for our people who we have been doing quite a lot of techie talk, I'm quite sure,
mm,
for those people that are watching us, but for those who aren't particularly tech savvy or
mhm.
just sort of starting out, what sort of tools or systems would you recommend to them for getting started to help them? And I know you've talked about mind mapping for one.
Mm.
How would you get them to, the tools that you would get them to use in order to sort out their organizing their files, either for the filing system or for their email?
Basically, they need to have a very big think and do nothing. Don't start without a plan.
Hmm.
That would be my idea.
Hmm.
And when you have, it depends. Are you an extroverted thinker? Do you like to think yourself? Do you like to write down? Are you a hand writer? There's no right or wrong way to do this.
Hmm.
And so if you're doing it by yourself, you need to get a big piece of paper
Hmm.
because you might not know how to dance around your computer yet.
Hmm.
And color pens or post-it notes. I've done some very good systems literally in government agencies by giving people post-it notes
Hmm. I
so that
like
they
the
can
idea.
write on their post-it notes, what it is that is important to them, and they shove them all up on the board. And so it's the sort of thing you can do for yourself at home.
Mm,
It's, yeah, I mean, why do you want to put it away?
mm, mm,
How would you put it away physically?
mm.
Because if you've got a system of putting it away physically, then you could do that. Now look at that sun shining through. Is it? And I could go and shut the folders if you thought that was a good idea. Uh,
Yeah,
uh, let's
yeah.
just carry on.
Oh,
So the other thing too is that have a look at how you put things in the fridge,
mm,
because you've probably got a pattern of how you put things in the fridge.
mm,
Or go and have a look in your drawers
mm,
or your wardrobe.
mm,
If it's a cluttered mess and you've got trousers and skirts and blouses all in the same space,
mm,
then you'll need help,
mm.
because we might have to sort out your wardrobe first. Get all of the trousers in one spot.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
other people sort out their wardrobe by color.
Mm,
So when you look at somebody's wardrobe or the way they stack their shoes or whatever, you can see that they have some sort of pattern.
mm,
So if you're not doing it physically in your other environments, I don't know, your jewelry, your makeup, your clothing, then you'll need a bit of intensive work and it'll be fun. Oh, it could be so much fun. Um, Personally, I like to help people by documenting stuff in an Excel spreadsheet, because for me, I can then see the layers
yeah,
of the
yeah.
folder structure. But in a mind map, you can see the layers in a folder structure too.
Mm,
And in mind mapping, the benefit of doing a mind map is you can see when the next thing that you pop out here to attach to it, if it goes off the edge, well, that's a sure sign that you've got too many folders.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
to stick back here. This is called admin. How do you admin? This is called contracts. All you need to do in contracts is name the damn things well, like the name of the people you are contracting.
Yeah.
You know, all of those sort of things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and you don't know until you start talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is such good tips there. And I love, I'm thankfully we are on the same wavelength for this, but that's exactly how I would go about it with the filing system. When we talk about the filing system and the email system, I'll ask them starting with, when you get stuff at home, how do you file it? You know, your bank statements, you know, what do you do? And the horror stories I hear, you know, anything from the broken kitchen cupboard drawer to the, you know, to the plastic filing system to the whatever. So we do have the, you know, the real life filing cabinet full drawers and use that sort of scenario and how we go. But I mean, but that's how we transfer, you know, what we can see visually in the classroom to, right, how do you organize it on the system and things like that. So yeah, it is good. But I love the idea of, I know I've seen you put somewhere about the colors and the color coding, and but you're right, you know, how do you organize your wardrobe? You know, is it by colors? Is it by types? Or is it by the types of clothes and in colors, which is even more more specific?
Let me tell you a little story which goes back to the beginning, in that how do we finding people who have got a sense of process. And I'd say to anybody that turned up, no, I didn't need an interview. No, I don't need your CV. I just want to hear an answer to this question. How do you hang out your washing?
Okay.
Because back in, you know, back last century, people did hang out their washing, and I still do. And then I would just listen. I would listen for process. Did they have a process? And most people got got employed, except the woman who took that question and she went, oh, well, she went back. She went, I sort out the washing, colors, whites. She got it in, she took it out, she shook it up, and she went right through to ironing it and putting it away.
Yeah.
I did not employ her.
No.
Because I asked her one specific, and someone like that could sabotage the systems that we had.
Right.
Because they would think, oh, no, you don't start that way, and just start altering it. So she didn't get a job. I also interviewed somebody who said, oh, my mother does it. And I went, oh, does she want a job?
So that was your interviewing question. How they hang up the
Just
washing?
one. Yeah. How do you hang out your washing?
Oh my
And then I
God.
knew, because I could hear their process, and the staff that we had squadron leaders and wing commanders as part of the overarching permanent staff. They were then able to sit with that person on the first day of the job, and they're facing 1,000 boxes to be listed, sort of thing, and sit with them and say, well, this is how you do it, and watch them do it as they type it in, and set up the processes. And then we would quality assure everything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then if there was an error, we could go, hey, look, this is, and we always left the note in a column like should be this, so that they would in the morning go back and fix it themselves. And because then it's bedding in the learning. And then we would put them into a channel, not a channel, that's what you guys have, into a method of getting them back out to the warehouse. So within all of that, there's this serious security and those things. For some organizations, we had to get security checked first before we could go.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up knowing so much about security online, as well as in boxes.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh, I don't know. I learned stuff from you. Definitely learning stuff from you. So I think we've talked about a load more of this. So if you had to choose some top tip sort of tools to use for your job, what would be your favorites? And this is the techie bit now, the tools that you love to do and use for your job. What would you recommend?
I use Text Expander. which I have all sorts of things in that I can type in secret codes and it spews it out. So I can write a letter by typing 3 bits and the whole letter appears, and all I have to do is put in the person's name or whatever. So I've been using that for at least 15 years. A Mac person recommended it to me. I think it was around 2010 I first started to use it. Absolutely fabulous. I used an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of what the hell I was doing for quite some time. And now I've got another thing called the less annoying CRM. And it's less annoying. It's like,
yeah.
this is so good. So I use that. And it's also on an annual basis, I do an assessment of all the things I have. My assets, my subscriptions, blah, blah, blah. And the first year I did it, I think I saved about, I don't know, 1,000 New Zealand dollars by going, I don't need YouTube. I don't need to pay for YouTube. I don't care if you send me ads, I just ignore them. And it was a big list, but every year I look at what am I paying for and do I need it? So I've got another CRM that I've been using since 2020 when I joined the Become the Upline people. And that's a Go High Level system. And that's where I run my funnels from. And that's where I've got the money things set up and all of that sort of stuff. So I'm quite enjoying that. I should just have a little look down here at my thingy. What's it? Oh, no, yesterday somebody wanted a video testimonial for work that they'd done. And I thought, oh no, how do I do this? So Chappie was really good, gave me a few ideas, and I did it. I downloaded a free video thingy because I wanted to have the prompter so I could have my words coming past and not be looking down. And yeah, that went quite well. But I don't know whether I'd keep doing that. So
no. I have to say.
So I like to use the tools that come with the computer.
Yeah. I must admit, I'm not great at doing videos. I don't like doing videos. I don't make very many.
This is a video suit.
No, I know. This is different though. The videos of me doing something on the computer and recording it, they don't tend to go well. They come very few and far between. And normally they've come as a request for something. And I was trying to make one earlier on today. I thought, oh, I needed to do it, which was partly linked to the post that I created earlier today. And I just I had about 3 attempts of it. I think the husband phoned in the middle of me recording one of then I'd got a perfect demo. I thought I recorded and it hadn't recorded, and I thought, you know what, I got to not do this. I'll look at it another time.
Yeah, right, next.
But I think actually what you're saying, having a chat with our Chappie friend, and Chappie friend said about 2 methods that I did try that didn't actually up recording what I wanted to do, but suggested Loom. And I think you mentioned that you said you've used Loom and made a Loom video. So I think that probably free. I think so. That's probably another one to have a look at and try it that way. But no, so that's brilliant. So I think, well, we've talked an awful lot, and I think we could still probably carry on talking for some more about it. But and I think you've shared, some of your favorite tools. What would you say from your experience that the challenges, I mean, I think we've talked quite a lot about the challenges, but what would you say were the most common challenges or the roadblocks that people have when they're starting out, especially when it comes to the technology? What would you say are their biggest issues, and how would you suggest they overcome them, or how do you recommend getting over them?
Well, a big part of it is, I'm creative, I won't be able to do that. And I go, well, that's nonsense. I mean, look at me. I'm a real good left brainer, but I'm an artist that has sold art. It did only happen in 1993. So people need to get themselves out of the box. So get yourself out of the box and go, either I have to pay somebody to do this for me all the time, which I don't want to do.
No.
Or I can learn specifically how to do it and learn that it's actually quite easy. And the only problem with all of this is you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You keep telling yourself it's hard, it will be.
Yeah. Exactly.
So quite basically, I mean, a 15-minute no fluff conversation with me will set you going. No sales technique, no nothing, because everybody is so special. So I'm sort of like, oh, what have people talked about?
Mm.
And it's really hard to come up with what the hell they've talked about, because they're all sort of, everybody's so different.
Mm.
But if you don't have a chance to have a chat with someone like me who knows what the hell I'm doing, because it's true, and my name's Helen, so I know it, then you're just going to continue being lost. So stop being lost, start being found, because it's something that once you grasp it, it's such a relief.
Yeah. Definitely.
And it can be creative. You can color code your folders, you can tag things with purple dots or whatever. I use tagging a lot in my system. So in my people folder, where the paying clients are, they are blue if they're current. They are green if they have had the service. Now, why blue and why green, you might ask?
I was going to say, well, I can relate to the green, but I'm interested about the blue.
Well, when you sort in a Mac based on the color, it sorts it based on B for blue and G for green. And so I wanted to have the current clients at the top, not in the middle.
Yeah.
So you see, I'm creative.
I must admit, I use ragging. Ragging is my normal color scheme: red, amber, green. And red if they've got red is warning type of sign. Green is all good to go, and the yellow tends to be amber pending or something like that.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, obviously, I've got branding colors coming out here as well.
But I also think, what we're saying, Sue, is that these systems are so easy to tailor to meet your need.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you prefer this, then let's just make sure that you bed it in and that you've got a document somewhere that you can go, oh, I've forgotten.
Yeah.
But here I've got this document. I keep that one on the desktop.
Yeah.
Because I can go, I see it every day. So I think, so, that would be my advice. Just know it's for you.
Yeah.
You can be as idiosyncratic as you like, but please don't go more than 3 folders down.
Yeah. That's a good tip. I do like that. That's a really good tip.
There we go. That's a good ending point, do you think?
So, thank you so much, Helen, for sharing your wisdom, your wit, your entertaining, but ultimately your fantastic systems. So, I was going to say, so anybody who's watching us today, if you want to get in contact with us, then please do. Obviously, this is going to be shown on our You Be in the Spotlight YouTube channel. And if you want to get in contact, the email is exactly the same: beinthespotlight@gmail.com. Obviously, don't forget to like and comment and ultimately subscribe. But if you actually are looking at any of the takeaways that we've shared in this interview and get Helen's top tips, then again, make sure that you ask. And if you really are wanting to take advantage of Helen's 15 minutes of wisdom, then I think, she will be more than happy to let you book a call. So again, reach us via beinthespotlight@gmail.com, and I will make sure that Helen receives your message and she will get in contact with you. So thank you very much. And Helen, thank you for being a fantastic guest on Being the Spotlight. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Okay.
Take care. Bye now.
Being the Spotlight is the place to be network driven, discuss technology. Being the Spotlight is the place to be. Tech talk tips for free.